man, it's early, so the Sci-Fi Express lane looked like some midnight creature feature. Trying to put all the lights on that I can. But anyway, this is Jeff Carroll, Sci-Fi Express lane, writer, thinker, all that stuff. And I want to talk about, I guess, watching shows that, I may not like, if there was a thing, why I watch shows. And I'm watching this show, just started watching this show, Yellowstone, okay? And my wife enjoys it, and people online have encouraged me to check it out. And it's almost like people saying, you're not gonna like it, because they got an idea of how I think and, my, reactions to other shows, okay? So I'm up to like episode 5 of season 1, and I think I have enough on it to speak a little bit on it. Of course, there's 5 seasons, and it may have changed over the time, but 5 shows is certainly more than enough for you to get an idea of the show and for you to have an opinion on it, right? So I can speak on it because I'm almost finished with the first season. And maybe I'll come back after I finish the first season and make another one, but I don't know. One of the things that I see very early on in Yellowstone is, as I was earlier probably more concerned with, was the portrayal of the situation, right? Yellowstone takes place in Montana, of course, in Yellowstone Valley or whatever the heck, Yellowstone National Park. I have no idea. I think that's where it takes place. I know it's Yellowstone. I don't know if they're saying the real Yellowstone or not. But anyway, it's a story set in land that is part Native American and part America, right? And we know how Native Americans ended up with land, and we know how Europeans ended up with land in America. It's just very simple, very similar to how black people ended up here in America, okay? They were brought here. They were taken by force, kidnapped. The land was kidnapped. It was taken by force. It wasn't a treaty or anything like that that brought, Europeans to Montana and gave them land. They took it by force. And the Native Americans have a different view of land than the Europeans, which they didn't really frame, because then you would fully understand some of the Native Americans' gripes. But Native Americans, for people that don't know, believe the earth is where they come from. We always talk about Mother Earth, but they're the ones that really believe that Earth is their mother. They believe that humans come from, or they come out of the earth. And for all intents and purposes, that's probably correct. But they respect the earth as someone would respect a mother, okay? Meanwhile, they're caught in this situation where they were going to be genocided and had to make a lot of conformations, meaning they drive trucks, they walk on paved roads, many things that they probably would never have developed in hundreds of thousands of years, because it went against their core belief. And that belief extends out to animals, right? It extends out to the plants and the treatment of things that come out of and live on Mother Earth. All right. Now, once you get that, it frames a little bit deeper the conflicts that exist between the white settlers trying to maintain their land and the indigenous Americans who are trying to protect their land. And in that, they have to take ownership, and they fight for ownership of the land. However, this is now maybe 100 years later. I don't think it's much. It's not over 200 years. The Western expansion is 1800s. It's not 1700s. Remember, Lewis and Clark was 1700s. We were still the 13 colonies when we had founded this country. So Montana wasn't a country. I'm going to look and see when Montana became a country. So this isn't as old, as the founding of America. This is probably even younger than the ending of slavery. Okay, so this is something simple like that. It doesn't go back generations. It may go back for a few generations, right? Maybe two, or maybe two at best. You go back 3, it was when the conflict was starting. These were pioneers. So these people don't have like 500 years stake on the land. They may have 100, not even that. I don't even think Montana is 100 years old. So I don't know what their stake is, but it ain't really, I don't think it's even 100 years. So now in this show, it's modern time, and the family is trying to hold on to their land amidst other developers who are coming from big cities and part in Texas and other parts of the country. They want to take the land, and the indigenous want to take the land back. And then there's multiple groups of indigenous. Their land is how they make their land. Money is through livestock. They're not farmers. They're cowboys. And when I watch how they treat the cowboys and how they treat each other, it is almost like migrant farm workers, but you gotta stay on the livestock every day. You're not something that is seasonal where you plant the seeds, watch it grow, and then harvest it, and you try to, till the land in between like a farmer would do. They don't have that type of scenario. They've got, herds of animals that they've got to keep on their land. And when I talk of land, I believe it's hundreds of acres, maybe even thousands of acres, miles and miles of land that fall under, that somebody owns. And the indigenous, of course, they got a casino, and now they become millionaires and billionaires themselves. And now they're able to do different things. They've sent their children to colleges, and they've come back educated, and they're engaging in a more of an equal playing field. But this is not taking place in 2023. This is probably, I think, around, let's say, the 80s. I got to find out. I don't think it's 2023. So anyway, when you look at, for me, when I looked at how the cowboys treated each other, it was very interesting. It reminded me of a gang, right? They branded each other, and they considered each other family, and they protected each other like a gang would do. And I don't know if the Crips and the Bloods brand, but I know we brand in the fraternities, sororities. Well, fraternities. I don't think sororities brand each other, but I think the black fraternities do. And I don't know if the Cowboys, at least they haven't showed us, put their new brothers through a test like a pledge period or anything like that. But it was very interesting, and they even killed each other for stepping out of line. Mistreatment of a special member of the group got one of the cowboys killed. And this is how I'm watching the show. All right, I'm watching it as modern day portrayal of history. So it's not history exactly. So I know that, but it's how the story is being told. And understand that that is another study. You can study a people and a society through their art and through the stories that they tell. Those stories are exaggerated, modified, edited to fit the times of the day. And that is also important. You're not studying it because it's true. You're saying, oh, they had a problem with such and such as homosexuality, so in this version of the story, they called it this. But in reality, he was this. And then you'll see in later stories, they felt more comfortable with his homosexuality, so it became the prominent characteristic. So you can see things like that through studying the storytelling of a people. I'm in the process of teaching the Beowulf story in my class. And the Beowulf story is a story of their hero. And we're studying the Anglo-Saxon people through the story of Beowulf, how Beowulf even changed. So when we talk about looking at today's world, yes, you can study people through the TV shows like The Power, through TV shows like The Equalizer, through, whatever, through Yellowstone. Is it a Native American? Is it indigenous Americans on the writing team? Or is it descendants of the cowboys or cousins of the cowboys that's telling the story? Is Power written by somebody that used to be a drug dealer? Is it written by somebody who never dealt drugs? All those become important because, like, for instance, the Beowulf story, the Romans were in the process of conquering that area of the world. And it was one of their Catholic monks that translated and transcribed the Beowulf story. Prior to that, Beowulf had not been written down. It was an oral story circulated through the Anglo-Saxons, like a folklore. And it probably took different applications. So whoever told it to their children was telling it, emphasizing certain things and other things. And this Christian Catholic monk, used it for his own purposes, and they used it to demonize the people. So when you see when you read Beowulf, they call them pagans, but yet they bear witness to different types of gods. Twasday, Thursday, Wednesday. All these days are different gods. So they're not pagans. They just didn't believe in the Christian God. So when we look at Yellowstone, I go back to Yellowstone and I'm analyzing it. Now I'm comparing it to one of my favorite shows, The Godfather of Harlem. And it is a cool comparison because there's a lot of similarities that I recognize. I was pointing out to my wife that, the gang in Yellowstone is very similar to Bumpy's organization in the Godfather of Harlem. And it's an organization in Yellowstone too, but it just reminded me of gang stuff. I don't think Bumpy, what do you call it? I don't think he, now I forgot the name of it, branded. I don't think he branded anybody. But they did have a family mentality, and if you cross one of them, even in the mafia, right, in Godfather Harlem, they're going up against the mafia, they do the same thing. You cross somebody, they take you out. And that's not corporate America. Let's not look at, corporations. They're not supposed to do that stuff. Maybe some corporations do, but people ain't killing you if you got a problem with BET. They fire you, they give you a gag order, they do all those type of things. They sue you, but they don't brand you and they don't kill you if you go against their policies. They blackball you like Colin Kaepernick, but they don't kill Colin Kaepernick. So it's very interesting, the comparisons of the two. And one of the things I said, of course, you know, cowboys and those people are slinging beef, right? But the reason why I compare it is, of course, Bumpy was dealing drugs and numbers, right? And I say this, that is a exchangeable variable, because black people didn't have opportunity to own land on that level. They were embattled not just by the mafia competition, but they were embattled by the American system of oppression. This is the 60s, you know, Bumpy, right? 60s and even, no, it was mostly the 60s, 50s and 60s, right? So we were in the middle of civil rights movement. A whole lot of different things was going on. So that's different, you know. And I think even when you look at the modern drug dealers in the 90s, we don't really have drug dealers now because we don't really have a drug. But in the 90s, when these cats was making, like one of my this guy I met on an airplane told me he made about $30,000 a day. I wish I got his name, but he was telling me he was like Nino Brown. That's ridiculous money, you know, $1 million in a month, you know. So when it comes to the variable, I think it's a comparable exchange because black people didn't have the opportunity to own land and deal in livestock. They owned and dealt with what they had. Now, I'm not putting drug dealers on the level of farmers, not farmers, livestock people, but I'm saying that the business practices of the farmers are on the same level as the drug dealers. So I'm bringing them down to the level of the drug dealers. And that's really my comparison. Thank you very much, Sci-Fi Express Lane. All of these theories and hypotheses that I have, just my ideas that I share on this. Please like, subscribe, and comment. All right? Knock yourself out.